Hello and welcome to another Tuesday Talk with Ruby Reese. My name is Killian. I'm co-founder at Ruby Reese and I will also be your host. Today we have a really exciting topic and guest coming up for you. And I suppose in reflection for this episode today, I have been thinking quite a lot about the evolution that's gone on in our community, even since we've started as a brand just over 2 years ago, and all of the different options available to us in our free time with our dogs and all the activities that we can participate in, and even dog sports that are becoming more popular in Ireland. And we definitely feel very, very privileged to have this format and be able to share with everybody what might be available to them and give people an idea of what's available in the community. And I suppose it's an important point because everybody, I think, in the dog community wants others to enjoy their relationships with their dogs, and it's really hard to see people struggling on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes it's unavoidable when dogs are feeling unwell or they have, long-term illnesses or anything like that. But I think there's also a huge amount of struggle in and around, just not having that relationship built up quite to the point that we need it to be, so that we can truly enjoy our daily lives with our dogs. Because I suppose that's why most people decide to bring a dog into their lives, right? They want to have this level of companionship, and they want, I suppose, a dog and a companion and a friend to join them on their day-to-day life. So it's really interesting to speak with those in our community that are then offering quite unique opportunities for us to bond with our dogs. And that's it doesn't have to be a dog sport. There's loads of things out there, from basic training that every dog should be privileged enough to have. It shouldn't really be a privilege, it should be a right. But also things like dog parks and all the events that go on and the rest of it. So there's so many opportunities to build that relationship with your dog, and definitely one of the more structured ways and tried and tested, I suppose, a lot more in other communities and other countries with their dogs, is the area of dog sports. And it's absolutely fantastic to have Caroline from Dogsercise on the podcast. We have had Caroline on other talks, on our live talks on Instagram, for example, a couple of times in the past, and it's always been a pleasure to learn from Caroline and to feel her infectious energy around dog sports and the benefits that it can bring to a human and dog team. So without further ado, I think it's only right to now let you listen in to the chat that I had with Caroline all about the dog sport Flyball. Caroline, thank you so much for coming on and joining me again on Tuesday Talks. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Brilliant, thank you. Would you do us the pleasure of introducing yourself briefly?
Absolutely. My name is Caroline Schaefer. I am the founder and head trainer at Dogsercise. We're based near Youghal, and we focus on purposeful activities for dogs and their humans.
Thank you very much. And you've picked a really, really exciting topic to speak about this evening. We're going to talk all about Flyball. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert, but I'm really excited to learn more. So maybe for complete beginners, a bit like myself, what even is Flyball?
Flyball is first and foremost one of the fastest dog sports in the world. So it's really cool. And it's essentially a fancy retrieve game that is based on a relay race. Okay, so you have 4 dogs racing against another team of 4 dogs. first they cross the start and finish line, then they go over 4 jumps, trigger the flyball box. The ball is in the box, so they have to kind of push onto a plate to release the ball. And then they retrieve the ball over the 4 hurdles across the finish line, and then the next dog comes in. So once the 4 dogs have completed the run and there are no faults, the fastest team has won that race.
So would it be an oversimplification to say it's a bit like a game of fetch, but there's hurdles involved and a little bit more, slightly more technology?
Slightly more technology.
Yeah, exactly. And it looks really, really impressive. So I've seen demos of this. I've seen some videos online. It looks really, really impressive. But I think there's a lot going on in for someone that's never seen it before. Yeah.
Yes, there is. It's really big at Crufts, for example. So if any of the listeners get a chance to go to Crufts, make sure you visit the Flyball. It's just the atmosphere in the arena is insane. Everybody's screaming their lungs out and having a great time, and the dogs really enjoy it. They enjoy all the party that's happening around it, and of course they are the best of the best, right? As you see there. We are a small team, a young team here in Youghal, and we're not quite there yet, but we're getting there. We have some amazing dogs in that team, and there's a good bit more involved in the whole training. It's not like you start and you're right there. There's a lot of training involved, a lot of nitty-gritty stuff that we need to get right to keep the dogs safe and healthy, which I'm going to talk about in a few more minutes as well. So it's really... It's infectious, really. The whole vibe around Flyball, the community that you create with your team is just beautiful, and it's just a nice thing to do with a dog that loves to retrieve balls or any kind of toy. Really, it doesn't really matter if it's a ball or not. Obviously, for Flyball, we need a ball, but if they like retrieving in general, it's easy to transfer that onto a ball in particular.
Yes.
So,
and how did you personally get into Flyball?
My first border collie, Socky, developed a little bit of a nasty side when he was 3 years old. And it turned out that the poor thing was just bored. So he wanted a job, and I didn't meet his needs. So I was looking for something that could fulfill his needs. So there was a flyball competition in our village in Germany. I was living in Germany at the time, and I just went down to have a look without him now because he couldn't handle dogs at that point. So I just went down and had a look, and I thought, oh my goodness, he would love that. So I had a chat with the local trainer, and he said, yeah, just come along, we'll give it a go, and we'll see how he's interacting with the other dogs, because I said, I'm a bit nervous about that. Because it is a team sport after all, so the dogs have to get along with other dogs off lead. They're running face to face into each other, right? So there is a lot of high energy involved as well that dogs need to cope with. And I was super, super nervous to bring him to the first session, and the trainer was super chill. He was like, look, I have a big bucket of water here. If push comes to shove, we'll separate them, you know. Back in the day, it was all a bit different. So I went to the first session and I was immediately hooked. I was very surprised how well Socky was able to focus and did all the exercise. We did a few different exercises to see how he is and what he's doing. And the whole journey started from there. So that was in 2008. And we went to the European Championships in 2011 with our team, and that was kind of the crowning glory of our flyball career. He was absolutely smashing it. We trained for about 6 weeks, and his reactivity has kind of dissolved because he now had a job. He was happier, and he had absolutely no issues with the other dogs whatsoever.
Brilliant.
So
and when you were originally scoping out what Flyball's all about, I'm sure you asked similar questions to the ones that I'm asking now. So what kind of dogs are usually or best suited to a sport like Flyball? You know, looking at things like age, fitness levels and energy levels as well. So now that you've got so much experience under your belt, what do you think?
First of all, Flyball is a sport that all dogs can do that are generally healthy. We start our training, or we recommend starting training for small dogs at about 12 months of age, and medium to large breeds 18 months, just to make sure their bone structure, their growth plates and their joints have fully matured, and we don't do any unnecessary damage to those. Flyball is a high impact sport. There's jumping involved. They go onto the box, do a really tight turn, so it is strenuous on the body, and we want to make sure we give our dogs the opportunity to do Flyball for a long time in a healthy and safe way. And so we want to only take dogs that have fully grown and are also socially capable, right? It's not, I don't want to say it's not, it's a bit, it can be a bit tough if you have a dog that, like me, puts you under stress with the social aspect of Flyball, engaging with the other dogs, potentially having off-lead interactions. Like they will down the line have off-lead interactions, right? And so they should be socially sound to a certain degree, right? Because having another dog running straight onto you at full speed is very intimidating, and a lot of dogs cannot handle that. So they really need to have some confidence that actually, okay, this is what we're doing and I'm safe, everything's fine. But we build it step by step to bring the dogs close to each other, and we don't just let them loose, right? That's where the nitty gritty starts. Yeah, the nitty gritty of the training. So really, all breeds, friendly dogs, what we would label friendly, healthy, obviously, and it doesn't matter really. The size doesn't matter. So the jumps are determined. The jump height is determined by the size of the smallest dog that is running in the team. So if you have if the smallest dog is, I don't know, a Jack Russell, for example, the jumps are only 15 centimeters high. And if the smallest dog is a border collie, then the jumps will be adjusted to that height. There are regulations around that, depending on the length of the ulna. So from the ankle, wrist, from the wrist to the elbow, that area is being measured, and based on that, the jump height is determined in competition. So there's really no pressure. It's not like the small dogs have to jump super high. A lot of teams actually prefer a small dog in the team to actually keep the jump height low. So,
that's what I was thinking. I was thinking about putting together a team of 3 Great Danes and a Jack Russell.
Oh, Great Danes will have a tough time. So the bigger dogs usually find it really hard to do the turn on the box, because the box is quite small from a big dog perspective, and it's a bit like having an elephant do a turn on, I don't know, chair.
Yeah, an elephant doing ballet or something. I know what you mean. Yeah.
So it really depends on the dog, and we had a miniature standard poodle in our team. We had a French bulldog in our team, Cookie. It was fun. We had two giant schnauzers in our team. And collies, of course. Collies, golden retrievers, you name it, and you get it. When you look at the high class teams, you'll see a lot of sighthounds and crossbreeds thereof. Some teams really take it to the next level, and they breed something like a border collie with a whippet or something like that, and create the Flyball dog. And so it's going a bit insane. But essentially, it's a sport that all breeds can do. It's really good fun. And it depends on the individual dog where the challenges are. Is it the social aspect? Is it the turn on the box? Is it the retrieving? I've had people doing foundations and the dog had no interest in the ball and they put in the work at home, and by the end of it, the dog retrieved a ball and was really happy about it. So you can work on things, right? Even if it's not there at the start, you can progress it and make it happen.
Yeah, and I love the idea of crossing certain breeds to make basically the ultimate zoomies dog.
Oh, stop. Yeah.
It's an interesting concept, and so you've mentioned that this has been going on for quite a few years, and it's already made its way to Crufts. So, I suppose, is it a new sport? Is probably the wrong question to ask now. But how long has the sport been going on? And you mentioned that you're a small team in Youghal. Is the sport common in Ireland at all, and or is it kind of just growing in popularity now?
No, it's still very new in Ireland. I believe we're the only team in the
Hmm.
country at the moment. So it's originally been developed in the US in the 1960s, if I didn't
Hmm.
get my history wrong now, um, by a guy who couldn't walk his dog anymore. I think he had some illness or disability that didn't allow him to walk his dog. And he built that machine that just the dog could release the balls out of itself and the balls just went. So like a ball launcher, right? In
Hmm.
tennis, pretty much the same thing. Just not at the same speed. And the dog just got its exercise, physical exercise, by triggering that machine and running after the ball and then triggering again and running after the ball. So that was the original um, fly ball box, right? And then from there, it developed into this relay race, because it's just so much more engaging than letting the dog just trigger the machine and run after the ball, right? So
Hmm.
it developed from there. And it's been really big in Germany when I was there, 2008 to 2011. It's still big over there. It's huge in the UK as well. There are teams all over the place. And it's a pity it hasn't fully swapped over to Ireland yet. But we're getting there. My
I
hope
do
is
think
that,
Yeah, I do think that Ireland, in fairness, is kind of a little bit later on the curve with a lot of the
mhm,
dog sports, and it's we're just
yes,
beginning to see things kicking off, because I know that that a lot, like I've lived in Germany as well. I know that in Germany, Belgium, Czech Republic, France, that some of these sports, and it's not just flyball, it's agility, it's loads and loads of different things,
everything. Mm,
even man trailing, that lots of things in over the past years have been really really popular, and I think it's only just emerging in Ireland, so it's a really really exciting time, I suppose,
mm,
to
yeah.
see the interest growing as well, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely, and I'm delighted. We're starting to see some more interest in our taster sessions, so people come over and have a look, and just see, like, get a feel for it, and see if the shoe fits, and then they start a foundations course, and then develop into group sessions, which eventually will end up in team, creating a team. So yeah, it's really really cool, and I think it does a lot for the relationship between dogs and people that's always underestimated. Because when you look at flyball, the handler doesn't do a whole lot by the look of it, right? Because the dog's having all the fun running for the ball and then retrieving the ball, but the handlers actually have to put in a lot of work.
Of
And
course, yeah.
yeah, because I was in the same boat with my own dog. He was perfectly fine running down to get the ball, but once he had the ball, he was like la di da di da, and every second counts, you know. So I had to really put an effort in to kind of bring him back out so the next dog could go in. And yeah, we had some fun figuring out what lights his fire. That actually, and I can tell you it wasn't me.
Okay.
um, so to get him back out, we had to use a wheelbarrow. A really funny story.
Okay.
So he was obsessed with herding wheelbarrows. So we have ponies at home, and every time we mucked out, Stucky would herd the wheelbarrow when we brought the muck down, muck heap out. And one day my trainer, in a flyball session, asked, like he's really fast on the way in, but he's totally lazy on the way out. Is there anything that we can use? Because obviously, Caroline, you're not enough. He has no interest coming back to you because you're taking the ball from him, right? Is there anything you can use that makes him run faster? I said, yeah, well, he loves a wheelbarrow. I was like, oh my God, I have to see that. So I took the wheelbarrow out and he ran his personal best
Amazing.
immediately. So we went from 6 seconds to 4.3, I think. And it was just insane. So from that moment on, we always had a wheelbarrow at a competition. And Stucky became known as the wheelbarrow boarder.
Whatever
Yeah,
works, whatever works.
whatever works, exactly.
And and I suppose people listening in will realize now as well, it's so much more than just a sport then, because you're digging down into the deep motivations, and treating the dog really as an individual and seeing, what's really going to get this dog super happy, super excited and ready to go for to run the race, right? Isn't it?
Exactly. Because what you need the dog to do is to go down fast, collect that ball, come back fast and focused, right? You don't want them to run onto the other team's lane because then you get a fault or you might even be disqualified if you disrupt the other team running. You don't want them to pass the hurdles and not come over the hurdles because then it's a fault. They have to go again. Like you want them to do the job and do the job right. And if you have the right motivator for that, then it's much, much easier for the dog to actually do it right first time. So, yeah.
And it's great to be able to motivate dogs in such a positive way and figure out, really understand what's working for them rather than using, say, more negative techniques. It's great to be able to use these techniques in all aspects of their life, right? If you know that the dog is crazy about treats or wheelbarrows or attention, because some dogs will really go crazy for the attention, how to say, if you stick with me, you're going to have a great time.
Exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, it's the regulations are a bit tricky around using food in flyball and how you handle toys, because again, it's all about not disrupting the other team. Because the last
Sure.
thing you want to do is, because you're only 5 meters apart, right? That's a really short distance. So all the dogs are waiting at the back for their turn, and they are starting at different points. So you could have two dogs 5 meters apart just waiting. And if you're pulling your dog out and you're throwing a massive party and you potentially throw treats left, right, and center, that next dog that's going in could be very distracted and actually go for you instead of going for the ball, right?
Yeah.
So there are very strict regulations around using food and how you're allowed to use toys. So you can't throw anything. You can use kind of a tug toy or something like that and wriggle it, but you can't throw anything. That's why the wheelbarrow was really handy, because you wouldn't really throw the wheelbarrow.
No.
I just ran with it, right? But yeah, around food is a kind of a danger zone as well. So we need to have a lot of space back. There needs to be 15.5 meters from the finish line to where you're allowed to use food as a reward. So you're not disturbing the other team with any kind of lovely smells and stuff, So
Which makes total sense.
Makes total sense, but it can be tricky because some dogs are really food motivated, and then trying to find the one thing that you can use, or making sure you have enough space back that you can use a food reward all the way out, then can get interesting, right?
Sure. And I presume there's a separation then as well, obviously, between how you're thinking around a specific competition setting and what you're doing in the initial training phases, right?
Absolutely.
Because you can probably build up to a stage where clickers are then become very interesting, or whatever types of tools that you might be allowed to use then. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. So our training is really chill. We do a lot of technical work on the box because it's super important for the dog's safety and health that they do the box turn correctly. We call it the swimmer turn. So they don't just flap on the box and trigger the ball and then do whatever to come back. We want them to kind of fly onto the box sideways and then kick off again. So basically what swimmers do this way, we want the dogs to do sideways on the box.
Which makes total sense, having seen a video of this. Yeah.
Yeah, because the impact is just not as high. But the box is small enough, so they actually have to learn to hit it properly. So we work a lot on body awareness with the dogs, because a lot of the time dogs forget that they have hind feet. They just tag along with the front. And we do a lot of work around that, because if they misplace their hind feet, they can really hurt themselves on the box. And we don't want that at any cost. We want to avoid them getting hurt doing flyball, because it's supposed to be fun. And it's an overall, it's such a benefit to do that, to work on overall body awareness and spatial awareness, because it's really good for everyday walks as well. When they go running on the beach, when they go jumping up and down in the woods, right, over logs, under bushes and everything. And if they have that spatial awareness, that body awareness, they don't get injured as much out and about as well. So it's a win-win, really, to do a sport. And doing a sport benefits you in everyday life. It's not just for the sport that we do certain things. It becomes a lifestyle then, and it's just such a fantastic thing.
Definitely, I can definitely see a lot of benefits that people could have. And you mentioned, I suppose getting hurt is one of the bigger challenges that everyone's trying to avoid. Are there any other common challenges that people might have when training with flyball, or would the injury definitely be the forerunner there?
So it sounds a lot more dramatic than it actually is. We're setting the dogs up so they don't get hurt, right? Just to make that very, very clear. But of course, as it is a high impact sport, injuries can potentially happen, right? Just to clear that up. But I think the majority of the struggles we see is around the social aspect. Because when you look at it, we have one dog that ran down. So first dog is running in, right? First dog is crossing the start line, jumping over the jumps, retrieving the ball from the box, coming back. As that dog is coming back, the next dog is already facing that dog and ready to go in. So there is staring. The dogs are staring down. They're looking at the box, right? Because they see the ball going into the box all the way down there. But imagine from a dog's perspective, you come running at full speed toward a dog that is currently not moving, and then that dog starts firing off at full speed as well, and you two are running head to head, right? This is really hard for dogs to
because
manage.
It goes against their natural body language.
Yes.
Really, they don't charge at a dog that's ready to move forwards against them. Yeah,
it's a very unnatural thing for dogs. It's considered very rude to do that, right, in the dog world, from a dog body language perspective. So the dogs have to learn that this is actually okay, and they're
in this setting.
In this setting, they have to ignore each other.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest bit, for the dogs to be able to ignore each other. So the dog that's coming out to fully focus on their handler, who's kind of pulling them out, and the dog that's going in to fully focus on the ball in the box.
And then this underlines the importance of that relationship then between the dog and the handler, right? I presume this is super, super important, because they need to have the trust in the handler that this is what they're supposed to be doing, and they're doing a great thing, right?
Exactly. And also the ability to actually pull the dog fully out, so they don't get any idea of, oh, I want to do something else now. I had one occasion where Saki ran back in, because he didn't come all the way out to me. He just followed the next dog in. Now, luckily enough, he was behind the other dog. He didn't take the ball, and he didn't disturb the dog that was running, and he still completed the run without any fault. So he took all his jumps. He didn't spit the ball. He didn't lose the ball. He didn't do anything. So our race still counted, and we didn't get disqualified, but I was totally freaking out. I did a belly flop trying to catch Saki before he went back in. But yeah, that's something you also need to you need to focus on, that the dog comes all the way back to you, even though the party is still going over there, right? That's a totally on a relationship level, that the dog values you more than the party, because you're providing a better party at the end of the day.
Sounds really, really exciting. And I'm sure a lot of people will be interested now as well in getting their dogs more involved in this, or checking out how they could get started. So what advice would you give to people that would like to get started with Flyball?
First of all, just reach out to me. We do taster sessions every now and then. If the interest is there, I'm happy to put up extra dates, no problem. And from there, you would do a foundations course if the taster session goes well, and you're like, yes, I'm really enjoying this, my dog is enjoying this, and we're suited, right? And then you do the foundation course. That is a 3-hour course. It's either 2 times an hour and a half or 3 times 1 hour, depending on where we are. And there you learn warm-up and cool-down techniques, body conditioning techniques and exercises, because this is also really important to keep the dogs in good shape. It's not just high intensity from an impact point of view, but also from a physical point of view, right? They're sprinting all the time, and we need them in top form for that. Again, injury prevention, right? And then we also introduce the dogs to the equipment, so they get a turn on our dummy box, and we'll see how they feel about that. We do a bit of recall over the jumps, all fenced, so you don't need to be worried if your dog doesn't have a perfect recall at this stage. We have the jumps fenced, so they're guided over the jumps, they're not freestanding. And we'll take it from there, really, because once you've completed foundations and you kind of know what you're doing, you learn the vocabulary, and you want to take it further, then we would set up group sessions. So you do group training where we build on the skill sets of the dogs and the handlers, and eventually all the dogs that work really well together might be joined into a team. That's how it happened with the last guys. So.
Sounds brilliant. I think we're going to have loads of teams now from Ireland in the next couple of years heading on over to Crofts and to the European Championships and everything. But it sounds great that people can start off on such brilliant overall kind of, let's say, general skills like recall and working on the bond between you and your dog. So sounds really, really positive, and I can't wait to see, like I say, all these dogs taking to the stage internationally as well in the future.
Yeah, we need more teams in the country, because we get bored here in Youghal. We have no one to run against, right? So it's really important now that we start to build it up and create more teams all over the country as well, so we can have friendly competitions with each other. And it's just then taking you to the next level where you can go to the championships. And the World Championships have just been held in Germany at the beginning of June. And they're open championships, so you can actually just register for it. You don't have to qualify as such for it, and that's a great thing, because it gives teams an opportunity. Because for us, if we wanted to qualify for something, we would have to go over to the UK and compete there, and then there's a whole lot of expense and everything involved, right? So we need more teams in the country, so we can actually practice more and get experience and get our dogs exposed to a competition environment before we actually go onto a competition that's huge, right? Because that's another thing, like the environment is totally different to what our dogs are used to, and they have to handle that. So we need to set up competitions in order to practice that.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Caroline, for coming on and sharing all about Flyball. Honestly, can't wait to see what's coming over the next couple of years out of Flyball in Ireland, especially under your training. It'll be absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're very, very welcome, and I can't wait either. I'm really looking forward to see what's happening. Thank you.
Thanks a million, Caroline. I look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you. So once again, a huge thank you to Caroline for joining us on the podcast this week. If you have enjoyed listening to it, please, please, please consider following or subscribing to this podcast wherever you listen to it. Also, if you would like to check out more of the work that Caroline does, you can find her website and the social media handles for Dogsercise in the show notes. Equally, if you would like to support Ruby Reese as a small business, you can head over to ruby-reese.com. We also have our most recent survey results that we have just released, some really, really exciting insights into the Irish dog community over on the website. So thank you very much for listening in. We really appreciate it and look forward to seeing you again next Tuesday.